there's a news story in the Washington Post about Elizabeth Warren, right? And it's kind of it reads like whoever wrote it thinks it's a hit job. Seriously, they're going to take a hit job on Elizabeth Warren. Why? Because she once was a high-priced lawyer. Seriously. And she was also a law professor. But anyhow, okay, so here's Joan McCarter over at Daily Kos. Wow, big scoop there, Washington Post. Brace yourself for this one. Senator Elizabeth Warren is running for president, worked in her profession as a lawyer before running for public office, and oh my God, made money for that work. She did it while also teaching, the headline sneers, working on, quote, more than 50 legal matters, charging as much as $675 an hour, end of quote. Where did they get this massive scoop about a smart woman with a good job who used her expertise and her smarts and effectiveness to get paid the going rate of a really good lawyer? Quote from the Washington Post. Warren's presidential campaign released a list of 56 cases on her website on Wednesday night, end quote. Back to Joan McCarter. Pretty sneaky of her, huh? Disclosing all that lawyering and money-making for the world to see on her own campaign website. And can you believe what she said on the website? Quote, when she represented the interests of asbestos claimants, her work was described as advocating for victims, end quote. That's from the Washington Post piece. Oh, my God. Back to Joan McCarter, which seems like a very good description for representing the interests of claimants. Scoop. Presidential candidate correctly describes her work in a previous job in a way that will appeal to voters. Apparently, there's now a new standard. This is still Joan McCarter. Apparently, there's now a new standard for women running for president from the traditional media. A lady law professor interested in advocating for workers is supposed to be like a nun, take a vow of poverty or something, no matter how good she is at her job. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, by the way, weighed in with a tweet. Breaking news, lady had a job, got paid more than me. And then Ocasio-Cortez says, nice work. Now do the amount of Wall Street, she's talking, sarcastically to the Washington Post. Nice work. Now do the amount of Wall Street, big pharma, and fossil fuel presidential candidates accepted over their careers and how much they're taking now. Yeah, how about that? How about that? Meanwhile, Pete Buttigieg was asked about Donald Trump in I believe it was a podcast with the Washington Post. And this is what he had to say. And this is just, it's so nice. This is the benefit of having a whole bunch of people running for president as Democrats. It's why having a whole bunch of people running for the Republican nomination 4 years ago actually worked to the benefit of the Republican Party and helped put Donald Trump in the White House. Because every single time any of them got covered, they took a hit at Barack Obama and very often at Hillary Clinton. Well, now, every single time a Democrat gets interviewed, they're taking a hit at Donald Trump. Here's what Pete Buttigieg had to say. I have a pretty dim view of his decision to use his privileged status to fake a disability in order to avoid serving in Vietnam. And I think that's exactly what he did. And then he went on, he says, look, I don't have a problem standing up to somebody who was working on season 7 of Celebrity Apprentice while I was packing my bags for Afghanistan. This is somebody who I think it's fairly obvious to most of us took advantage of the fact that he was the child of a multimillionaire in order to pretend to be disabled so that somebody else could go to war in his place. Wow. It's like, put the knife in, right? Put it in deep. Okay, remarkable stuff. Meanwhile, a bank in Chicago, or actually a banker with a bank in Chicago, his name is Stephen Calk, and the bank is the Federal Savings Bank of Chicago. They have disavowed his activities, but he was high up enough in the bank that he was able to have that bank, a little tiny bank, loan $16 million to Paul Manafort, essentially in exchange for getting a position. Stephen Calk had a position in Donald Trump's presidential campaign. He was the economic advisor to Donald Trump, right? Looks pretty good on your resume, right? Except now he's just got indicted yesterday afternoon by the Southern District of New York for ignoring internal standards and lying to regulators. Why is it that all the people around Donald Trump, or so many of the people around Donald Trump, are either obvious and demonstrable liars, Kellyanne Conway, Sarah Sanders, et cetera, or that they're in jail? This guy's campaign chairman is in jail. His personal lawyer is in jail. And in the case of Paul Manafort, he's in jail for stuff that goes beyond Trump. In the case of Michael Cohen, I mean, the astonishing thing is that Michael Cohen is sitting in a federal prison right now for paying Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal to not talk about the affairs that they had with Donald Trump in the months before the election. In other words, trying to cover up the affairs. This is the Donald Trump who yesterday said, "I don't do cover-ups." Hates Stormy Daniels, Karen McDougal, right? I don't do cover-ups. I just pay. He just pays off women who I mean, do you get this? This is bizarre. And I think Nancy Pelosi nailed it this morning. She said somebody in his family, on his staff, or in his cabinet needs to stage an intervention.